Well, imagine you're on a long road trip to a place you've always wanted to visit. I remember when I was in 4th grade, I had a dictionary and it had a whole bunch of trivial information at the back, like population of US cities. And one of those US cities was called Hutchinson, Kansas. 4th grade, I thought to myself, I want to go there. Someday I will get there. But it's a location I've been thinking about. I want to go see that. And I mean, it's a long ways away because I would have to drive it, because why go on a trip if you're just going to fly? I love the roads and the journeys up the hills and down into the valleys. Beautiful sights. Some unexpected detours maybe. Make sure I have the phone charged for the GPS. Just don't want to get lost, but if I do, it's all part of the journey. But it's the thought of the destination, the place that I've been dreaming about going to see. And I was actually talking to a friend of mine one time and said, I'd like to go there. And he said, why? Why? Like, I've been there. There's nothing there to see. It's like, well, even if I just see the Welcome to Hutchinson, Kansas sign, I would be happy. It keeps me excited to think about that and focused and hopeful that someday I'll make that journey. I'll make that road trip and I'll get to that destination. Well, in a way, that's what the Christian hope of eschatology is like. Another big word for you, eschatology. Everybody say it, eschatology. Eschatology is the study of the eschaton. Does that make it clear?
Oh, yeah.
Eschaton is a word that just basically means last things, final days. So eschatology is the study of the end times, the study of what God has promised for the future, his ultimate plans for the world and for us. It helps us understand that our lives and this world are headed to somewhere more meaningful. God has an end goal. And the great thing is we are part of that goal. Today we're going to explore 3 aspects of God's promises about the future and how they bring us hope and purpose and a confidence for today. We're going to start with the promise that Jesus will return. In John chapter 14, verse 3, Jesus said, "If I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am." I think sometimes this area of thought and study can sometimes get us bogged down in the waiting for Jesus' return. We focus on the watching for him and not the working for him. We study passages that describe the signs of the end times and ignore the ones that tell us how we should be spending what time we have. Jesus told a parable about the house owner that had gone away on a trip. And when he came back, the question was, how would he find his workers working? Would they be working, or would they be just sitting there waiting around? Well, they should be working, but sometimes we aren't. Sometimes we are too focused on when is he going to return, and what does this sign mean, and what does that sign mean, and please don't get me wrong, I think it is important for us to know those things. But I believe that those descriptions of the signs are to promote an urgency for the task that is ahead of us, a task that is to be completed. See, those descriptions of the signs, it's not to promote study on figuring out the day and the hour and the time of his return. Jesus said, "No one knows the day, nor the time, nor the hour. Only the Father." Not even he knew. What arrogance to think that we can have it all figured out. I think the important thing is when we have this promise of Jesus' return, we need to be concentrating on what are we supposed to do with the time we have. Well, with that being said, Jesus promised that he would return to be with us. This promise gives us a hope that no matter what we face now, there is a future where we will be with him forever. His return marks the start of God's full restoration, where wrongs are made right and where suffering is no more. Soon and very soon, I'm going to see the King. No more crying there, no more dying there. That is God's full restoration. And that's what he has promised us. Think of the excitement of waiting for a friend or a family member that maybe you haven't seen in a long time, and they're coming to visit. In September, I had 2 sets of company coming. Peggy had come for, it was supposed to be 2 weeks, but it turned into 3 or 4. That's okay. I was happy about that. And my sister and her husband came for a visit. And even though I had seen them in August, there was an excitement because, I'm waiting for company, for visitors. I prepared. I made sure that the spare room was all made up and the bed was clean and there wasn't too much dust in the house. Well, yeah, I live right near the road, so there's always dust in the house, but waiting for them to show up. And I knew what day they were leaving, what time they were leaving, and I'm sort of counting down the hours. And then when they finally arrived, I was like, yes! I feel so much better because now they're here. We have this reunion. Well, Jesus' return is going to be like that. It's going to be so much better than that. The ultimate reunion. And it'll fill our lives now with hope for that, with joy, looking forward to that reunion. If you have not yet put your trust in Jesus, consider what his promise means for you personally. He offers a way to be part of this hope and this future. Accepting his invitation to salvation means that you can share in the joy of his return and be with him eternally. What good news that is. No matter where you are on your spiritual journey, though, I want you to remind yourselves of Jesus' promise to return, especially when you face challenges. And let's face it, we all face challenges, don't we? Living with an intentionality in what we do. Spreading the good news of salvation. Treating others with loving kindness. And trusting that no matter what we go through, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. It won't last forever. Well, Jesus will return, and that is our future hope. And what a great hope it is. But another one of God's promise is that his kingdom will be fully realized. Revelation 21 verse 4 says, he will wipe every tear from their eyes. And that wasn't a tear, it was an itch that I wiped on my eye. But how appropriate the timing, right? Anyway, he will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. God promises a new heaven and a new earth, where there will be no more pain, no sorrow, no death. This promise shows that God's plan isn't just about individuals. It's about renewing all of creation. Creation that was horribly broken by the fall of mankind. And God is going to renew that God's kingdom will be fully realized, and his justice and love will reign. I don't know if you've ever seen the TV show. It was on HGTV called Windy City Rehab. And there was a time that was all I watched was rehab shows and renovation shows. It was so much fun. But this particular series, the host, Allison Victoria, she would buy up houses in Chicago, of course, Windy City, and then she and her team would go to work. And these houses, they weren't the best looking, and you knew that they needed some work. I remember I'd look and I'd think, oh, well, maybe just repair or replace that plaster there, and well, there's some floorboards that look from the camera angle like they need replaced, replace those. But no, that's not what they did. They would just totally tear everything out of the house. Almost every episode they would do that. And I'd think, why did you go through so much work? Sometimes they would tear the whole thing down and they'd just be left with the bare lot and build up from there. And I'm thinking, that's not a rehab, that's a tear down and build new. But that's okay, it's your show, you're allowed to do what you want. But they would completely redesign and rebuild into a new and fabulous modern home. Well, that's like God's plan for the world. He will take what is broken and he will make it new, showing us the fullness of his love. It's not just about a new heaven and a new earth. It's also about a new person. We are a new creation, and God's renewal is for everyone who chooses to accept his gift. We can live out this future hope by being agents of God's love and justice today. Look for small ways to bring heaven to those around you. Stand up for what's right. Show compassion. Work to make the world a better place. Share the message, God's message, of redemption with friends and loved ones who need to hear about it. Each act reflects God's coming kingdom. Well, we have the promise of Jesus will return. We have the promise of a renewed kingdom. Now we have the promise of life beyond death. And I think that's sort of an obvious one that we talk about a lot. Let me just continue on a little bit, because I do have like 9 minutes left to preach, Junior. So, yeah. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 52 says, "In a flash, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet, for the trumpet will sound, the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed." God promises that death is not the end for those who follow him. We look forward to being raised to new life with Christ. Raised with new, resurrected bodies. This promise of resurrection offers comfort, especially in times of loss, knowing that there is a future life beyond this one. That is a comforting thought, isn't it? That if we are alive in Christ here, we will be alive with Christ there. Oh, glorious, glorious thought. We often use the imagery of butterflies to represent salvation. Think of a caterpillar and how it transforms into a butterfly. To the caterpillar, a cocoon might seem like the end. Oh no, what's happening? I have no freedom. I can't creep along the ground anymore, or along this branch or whatever. Can't move. But it's actually the beginning of a whole new and beautiful and better life. I love this picture of metamorphosis. That's the process by which Nothing of the old is left. The caterpillar is completely gone. The DNA is completely changed to the very core. It is no longer a caterpillar. It is a butterfly. When I was a kid, I used to think that the caterpillar was the body part of the butterfly, and it had just sprouted wings. That's, a simplistic way of thinking of it, and as a kid, you get things wrong, right? But that's not the caterpillar. That is the new body. Picture that. At the end, when Christ returns, we will have a resurrected body that will do so much more than what these vessels do. Our earthly life is only the start, and resurrection will bring us into a new and wonderful existence with God, where we will see him face to face. Oh, what a glorious thought. Oh, I'm getting excited just thinking about it. Are you? It's easy to say, well, I want to go to heaven, but not right now. Oh, I don't know about that. When I stop to truly think about it, I know it's not in my hands. I'm leaving it up to God. He's got work for me to do. That's fine. I'll stay. But I'm looking forward to that. I am. If you are unsure about what happens after this life, know that Jesus' resurrection is an invitation to you as well. Accepting him means embracing the promise of life beyond death, a hope that can change your entire outlook. Down to the DNA is changed. And if you are sure of what happens after this life, if you know where you're going, if you have this blessed assurance that we just sang about, I encourage you to encourage others to seek this hope and this assurance by sharing how God's promise has impacted your life. Let the promise of resurrection give you courage to live with hope, even in the hard times. Share this hope with others, especially those going through loss or hardship, hospitalization, who knows what. Remind them that God's promise means our story doesn't end here. And as we wrap up our series on the core beliefs of our faith from a Wesleyan perspective, let this truth sink in. God has an incredible plan for our future. Eschatology isn't just about the end. It's not just about the end times sometime in the future. It's about hope. It's about renewal. And it's about life beyond this world. We are invited into this story by God's grace. Let's choose to live as people who know where we're headed and share this hope with those around us. Well, today, I invite you to pray with me. Let's thank God for the hope that he gives through his promises. Let's ask him to guide us in accepting and sharing his gift of salvation. And let's ask him to help us live in a way that reflects our trust in his plan. Whether you need a reminder of hope, renewal, or the courage to face the future, know that God is with you, leading you to the joy of what's to come. Let's pray.